Well, I want to address this term called the cash cost. Actually, it's a term I really never hear. It's kind of weird. I've been in accounting a long time. I don't really think of the cash cost. There's the operating margin, maybe. The net profit before taking out depreciation, amortization of capital expenses or whatever. It's almost like... I guess that's another term they throw out there, but they're talking about silver, and I guess it would be the operating profit, bare bones, going like not assuming depreciation on capital expenditures or the land or any of the type of engineering cost impact studies and infrastructure or anything else that was involved in actually setting up the mine. And you're looking at, cash in and cash out. Right, so cash in, basically for the product, but cash out is almost 50% of the bare bones operating expenses of a mine is fuel. That's why I always said oil is going to lead the charge with silver. Now silver took a major hit today. I was looking at it last night. I said, it's not looking good. But I don't know how far down it's going to go because, it's pretty damn depressed as it is. And, if you're going to bottom fish, you might be missing for bottom fishing. I'm not buying anymore because I already bought enough. I don't like I said, I don't tell people to put all their money into silver. But, I kind of I was looking at some of the David Morgan stuff he was just talking about the cash cost. And I'm like, who the hell talks cash cost? I mean, I just don't hear that expression anywhere, cash cost, Anyway, there's cash flow statements, and actually I make cash flow statements so people can understand them other than accountants. But as far as, cash cost, it's not a term they actually use in accounting, and actually he's claiming that accountants use this term all the time. And I'm like, really? I didn't realize that. Anyway. Now, I'm not that familiar with the mining industry per se, but I am a little bit because I actually had a friend of mine that was dealing with some stuff out west in the United States, and it was a major project that he was trying to get $8 billion loan on. And there's a number of things out there that you really need to do before you even start a mine up. And see, this is the problem where, say, the demand went up right now. They're not going to get another mine online like snapping their fingers. It's not like, say there's a shortage of hairdressers or something. You might be able to train them in 2 months, and then you're up and running, and you got all these people doing that stuff, right? It isn't the same type of deal. It's not the same type of deal as even making simple hardware items or making paper products or whatever the hell it is. A mine, well, if you don't have enough existing ore to mine from, and you can't ramp up production that much faster on the mine, it requires major capital expenditures, and it might require obtaining more land. So, like on the the income statement, they'll be like amortizing like depreciation on all the major equipment. They'll be saying like they had impact studies for the road, environmental studies, engineering studies, and these are expenses that were already done a long time ago, but they expense them out over the life of the project, the estimated life of the project, and that's figured into the finished cost of goods sold at the point of where the mine is, and I guess it goes from there to the refinery. But in principle, it's exactly the same damn thing as construction. It's exactly the same thing. So when he's talking about the cash cost, yes, he's talking about the operating margin. And actually, right now, when they're like 18 something, they're below operating margin, even though silver is generally speaking a byproduct of other metals. The other metals are depressed too. So this crap ain't going to keep going forever, that's for sure. But when they start, if the oil, like I said, this is the thing. This is where like even these so-called experts aren't even saying. I mean, it's amazing. I looked at, I had from one of the best. I'm not going to say the guy's name, man, or the people he was working with. But I actually displayed it on here a little bit, but in little pieces, but it was like loads of different spreadsheets. It was like, when you have a mining operation, you'll have, it's not like the classic property, plant, and equipment. It's like you'll have people you have permanently on the payroll that are always fixing the equipment. There's like different types of trucks and Caterpillar dozers, and it depends on what type of operation it is. This was out west, so it wasn't like the type where they dig a tunnel in the ground. It was like an open type mine or something. Not familiar with the mining stuff, but I'm familiar with like the the counting of big projects and stuff like that, especially in construction. But I saw like how it was all laid out. So if you're talking about operating margin, operating expense, and what you're going to get for the end product as it comes out of the mine, that's what he's talking about, I guess, with cash cost, or it's not really cash cost, because it's a term no accountant uses, because we're pretty much everybody's on the accrual method, so they don't really call it that. They might call it a cash flow statement, and I keep seeing this crap being thrown around in YouTube left and right about the cash cost and the cash price, and it's like it's not an accounting thing. It's something they're throwing out there. That's what I got to tell you that right now. You might say the net operating margin, the net operating profit, operating expenses, and just taking in, what it's actually the product's going for out the door in these whatever bars or something like that from the mine, and then from there it's refined to something else or whatever. I don't even know exactly what goes on with the full operation. I guess it varies too by the mine, because probably some mines are probably sending out stuff that isn't as pure as other mines, for all I know. That's probably what's going on. But I do know that when you're looking at operating expenses, almost 50% of the operating expenses is fuel. Fuel. That's why I've been just kept saying that oil is going to lead the charge, man. Because they're just going to say, screw it, man. They might not shut the mine down all the way, but, I mean, if you're going to freaking, like, are you going to put out a product out the door that you're going to have to pay for? You see what I'm saying? It's, in other words, there's the, you got the depreciation on equipment, the amortization of, loan interest expense. And, typically with a loan, what they'll have like an interest reserve set up as part of the loan. Say the loan is like $500 million, they might have a $70 million interest reserve set up, so the loan cap is actually $570 million. But they'll have to make payments on this loan too. So, meaning they calling this, is that part of the cash cost? I don't know what this guy's talking about, David Morgan. Man, it's fucking bullshit. That's all I gotta tell you, man. Because, he's talking about, almost like putting it down to like, an ice cream stand or a hot dog stand or something like that. What's it costing you just to stay afloat? That's probably what he's talking about. But when he's saying that the accountants use the word cash cost, or there's no accountants that use that freaking term. I never heard that shit. I've been around for like decades doing this stuff, and I just never heard that stuff. I never heard that. The cash profit, or whatever the hell he's talking about. I just never heard that stuff. I don't know what the hell he's talking about. Net operating margin? Is that what he's talking about? Before depreciation and amortization of the loan, and before taxes and all that type of stuff? Is that what he's talking about? I don't know. But if you look at the net operating margin on a loan, on an entity, there's what goes on with the mine. It's 50% is operating cost. So if you're talking about they're barely staying afloat, on a cash flow by saying silver's at $20 final spot price. If they're barely staying afloat at that and say it's 18 something now and they're barely staying afloat even at 20. Well, if the price of oil went up 20% and 50% of the operating margin is fuel, well, guess what? Guess what? That just took another 10% out of that crap. That would have to move the price up a lot. It would. It would. It would. And once it moves up, there's always that psychological thing where people start saying, well, the resistance point got broke through here on a chart, and that means it's going to go higher, and it, the silver block mafia takes a hold. But, I don't know what this guy's talking about when he's using some of this terminology that he says accountants use all the time. I said, no, they don't. No, they don't. I work with accountants all the time, and I've been in accounting for decades. Since the, 70s. I don't know what the hell he's talking about. I don't know what he's talking about when he's saying that shit. It's maybe like the cash flow. In other words, if the price gets so damn low, they're going to be paying money out on a daily basis just to get the product out the door. Then it's going to stop. Then it's going to stop, period. I mean, maybe the mine might not close down because it's more money to close the mine down. And maybe they'll be having, but they're not going to be putting some product out the door that's actually, they might be paying like a skeleton crew to keep the stuff open, but they're not going to be freaking, and I guess there's a lot of different things they could do, because when you go down and you start cutting down, you're cutting down and cutting down. But, from what I could tell, the global demand for silver is really not dissipating that much. Not at all, really. I mean, maybe it's down just a hair, but not that much. Not that much. So, this garbage what's going on with this price deal is probably not going to last very long. It's just like, that's just the way commodities are. They go, they don't go like this. They go all over the place. That's just how they are. But, I've been saying this, and I'm going to repeat it again. Operating cost, when you're talking operating cost and net operating margin, 50% of that operating expense is energy and fuel. Oil goes way up, price of silver goes way up. That's all there is to it. That's all there is to it. And you also have to figure that when oil goes up, it's going to raise the price of all the goods across the board, because even when you're talking about machinery and equipment or any product that you buy, it's all a matter of transporting it from one area to another area, which involves energy. Even a factory that operates to make a machinery part has to get raw steel from someplace. It's got to transport, other equipment from another place. Then it's got to transport that out to the wholesaler. Then it's got to be transported out back to wherever the final sale is going to be. All that adds to the price of everything across the board if energy goes up. If energy goes up, it kills the GDP. That's why I've always said that actually, if you can have like very, very cheap energy, it would actually lower the cost of doing business in the United States a great deal, and the GDP would go up. And actually, I want to put a word out about something else. Nikola Tesla, when he talked about the energy transmission through that tower he made and all that type of stuff, that was not going to be like totally free energy. What that was going to be was conventional energy, but sent through wireless. But do you know, this is a fact, we lose about 2/3 of the energy we produce through the electrical infrastructure itself, and that if you sent it through the Nikola Tesla theoretical way, you would actually add a little bit more to it. It would actually be boosted a little bit more. So, but the problem is you really can't meter it, right? Anyway. Over and out. That's all I want to point out, because I figured I'd point out that little tidbit there. So, it's a matter of, there is so many people. I can't believe somebody's, well, I don't know. I already got the absolute bona fide, guaranteed in my head that the guys on the top that are giving you the most premier advice on silver, not the ones I mean, the ones that are really into the stuff, they're going to know when it's going to turn around, and they ain't going to tell you. In other words, when it goes way too high, it's going to, they'll be selling. They'll be selling, and they'll be telling you, it's the sky's falling, the dollar's going 0 to 0. I see the preparations on it all the way. The dollar's not going to 0. It's not. It's like a, I know they say with the debt and all this kind of stuff, but even if you default on a debt, they're not gonna default on a debt. What they're doing is with this debt garbage is that they're making it so all the nations are gonna have to be bailed out by a global financial entity that's gonna control all the nations. That's all they're doing, man. That's all they're doing. We're gonna probably have the dollar diminished a little bit, but it's not gonna go away. But I just want to drive home the point about this stuff about these the cash profit or whatever the hell these guys talk. I don't know what the hell he's talking. Wacky terms, man. They're not accounting terms. Not at all. There's net operating margin. That's probably what he's talking about. I don't know. Before depreciation, before amortization of loan, before taxes. So before depreciation of property, plant, and equipment, before amortization of loan, before income taxes. You might say that's net operating income. I don't know what the hell other terms this guy's throwing out there. This is David Morgan. And I'm like, man, oh man, oh man. Wow, I'm getting tired of this shit because it's like, well, the trouble is, I don't know what the hell the price of silver is going to do. I just got to figure it's going to be in the doldrums this summer and it's going to start taking off. I think late August or maybe September, around there. That's what I think it's going to take off. I think it's going to be in the doldrums. But I think it's going to take off like a rocket and it's going to crash like a freaking stone. Not down to where it is now. I think it's going to take off like a rocket and then come back down. Because I think in 2015, sometime in 2015, maybe more like mid or, because let me put it this way. I put out this stuff about the 4 blood moons and all this crap. I think, I'm not superstitious with this astrology garbage, okay? But what I think's going on, I think there's movers and shakers pushing crap in coordination with this freaking astrology garbage. That's what I think's going on. So if the 4th blood moon, and there's all these predictions about the big financial crisis we'll hit on September 2015, and that's 7 years away from September 29th, 2008, and 7 years before that was 9/11, 2001. I think it's all freaking played, man. I think it's all planned. All right? And that's why I think it's going to happen. But I'm figuring silver is going to take off like a rocket before that, because when the financial crisis hits, it's going to bring silver down too, and gold and everything else, just like it did back in 2008. So I'm figuring it's got to go way the hell up before that time. And it could be through oil or something, I don't know. I'm figuring it is, because the last time we had the big run-up in silver was when they had the Libya war, remember? And if you look back, you can see more repeat history on that same kind of pattern. Major conflict in the Middle East makes a problem where you can't keep that net operating margin where it's even making a profit there. You're losing money even right before you even do the amortization of the loan, depreciation on property, plant, and equipment, and you pay your taxes and all this other shit. And with mines, there's also like they're amortized, they're spreading out and allocating the cost from impact studies, roads, roadways, also maybe like environmental studies, engineering studies, also like maybe with the cultural studies with the indigenous tribes, all kinds of stuff. So when you take that and you freaking amortize all those costs, that's really what it knocks down. Actually, what happens, I think, there's probably several loans, but there might be loans on top of loans and other loans and stuff. I don't know how exactly, it depends on what it is, but typically when they have a loan on this stuff, they don't have to pay the loan interest, they'll have a so it doesn't come out of the what do you call it? The the net operating margin. What they'll have is, say they have a $500 million loan. I'm just going to go over this real briefly, even though it's not related to silver. They'll have a $500 million loan. They'll have like what they call as an interest reserve set up. That'll be $70 million, say, for interest. So what happens is they pay the interest and they add it to the loan. In other words, say the interest is, I don't know, they're getting some, they do a draw on something. That would be construction, but it would work the same way it would say a what do you call it? A mine, because they're constructing a mine or something, or they're buying a plant and equipment or whatever the hell it is. They'll have an interest reserve set up, and so when the interest payment is due to the bank, what happens is that the interest actually gets pulled out of the interest reserve, which actually is, the interest reserve is the loan itself. It's a section of a loan. It's called interest reserve, and it just adds to the loan. And the loan gets paid off in other ways when there's sale of goods and services, and then they pay down a loan in its aggregate on other schedules. But actually, the interest payments that are due every month will be coming out of the interest reserve, an account that's set up at the bank that's actually part of the loan that adds to the loan. I probably confuse people on that. It's actually a very, very simple thing with me. I've seen this shit for many years. I know how stuff works. I don't know what the hell David Morgan's talking about with his cash profit or something. I don't know what the hell term he used, wacky terms. They're not accounting terms. So I don't trust people like that. Just be honest. Just be honest. Over and out.